Today on the Inside Scoop, we got Tennessee recruiting. It's about to heat up in Knoxville. The recruiting prediction machine is also trending for a few top prospects. But first, we're talking QB Dominos. They're about to fall. Let's bring on national recruiting analyst Sam Spiegelman for this segment. Last weekend, Air Noland set his decision for April 9. Then Jaden Davis set a date for April 1. Then Jake Merklinger just jumped the line in total, and he is announcing today, later today, the number 7 quarterback in America will announce his decision, and we'll also get a commitment from the number 20 QB, Michael Hawkins, on April 8th. So a majority of the top 20 QBs will be coming off the board by the start of summer. So Sam, why is this such a popular time for quarterbacks to commit?
Usually, this is when quarterbacks begin to start to fall off the board. It's the end of spring. They want to start recruiting the class around them, find the receivers, find the running backs, find the offense, and they want to protect them and really form these really long-lasting relationships that'll last, obviously, through the rest of the recruiting cycle and into college. But we are in a unique cycle where the majority of these top elite quarterbacks were off the board during the season last fall. Julian Sayin, DJ Lagway, they made their decisions. Now, others had kind of flirted with it. Guys like Jaden Davis was stuck between Michigan and Tennessee, and Clemson was still hanging around, while others like Walker White waited till February to announce his decision. But this is more of the normal time of the year for quarterbacks to make up their mind. We're in a unique world with NIL and kids that begin to get recruited as freshmen and sophomores in high school. That they felt comfortable enough to make their decisions. But I think that we'll have some, additional, recruiting nuggets closer to signing day with some of these quarterbacks that might have made their decisions too early.
Dominoes are falling. So let's take a look at exactly who is ready to commit. At number 4 overall, at the quarterback rankings, we got Jaden Davis. Number 7 ranked quarterback, Jake Merklinger. Number 10, Air Noland out of Fairborn, Georgia. And at number 20, Michael Hawkins. Let's start at the top here. Let's actually, you know what, Sam? Let's predict where these guys are going to go. Why don't we? That's why everybody's here. They want to know, where are the quarterbacks going? So let's start at the top. Jaden Davis, he's been a popular name out of North Carolina. What's your take on Jaden Davis and where he ends up at the end of the week?
Yeah, my pick has been on Michigan for some time. This kind of feels like a when rather than an if. It feels like Michigan really had a tough battle with schools like Clemson, like Tennessee, like North Carolina, the in-state team with Jaden. But Michigan just got him on campus. It was a really important junior day over in Ann Arbor last weekend. They had, what we're assuming to be the face of their class, Jaden Davis, with a lot of their key targets on the offensive line and other skill positions. They got Jordan Marshall to commit last weekend. They've had a trickle-down effect, and potentially, as we just kind of said, the face of their class might be committing in Jaden Davis. I like where the Wolverines sit. That Jim Harbaugh has really done his work with Jaden Davis. Clemson really wanted him. Tennessee really wanted him. Obviously, Tar Heels made a late push. But I think this is Michigan's race to lose.
All right. Number 7 overall, Jake Merklinger. He is set to decide later today. So, Sam, hurry up. Get your prediction in. Where's Jake going?
Yeah, I like Tennessee. I think Tennessee has been in a battle with a lot of those schools we mentioned, like North Carolina and really Michigan State for a good chunk of his recruitment. But he's a South Georgia kid. Josh Heupel has really kind of dug in his heels with Merklinger, who's got just a fantastic arm talent. A year after signing Nico Iamaleava, they're in a great spot with Jake Merklinger, one of the best in the country out of Georgia. I think the Vols have kind of moved forward with Merklinger ahead of today's decision.
All right. And number 10, Air Noland, he came out this weekend and said, I am ready to announce on April 8th. Air Noland, where do we think Air Noland's headed? This is one of the more intriguing recruitments in the top 10, by the way.
I was just going to say, this is probably the more unique recruitment that might have a couple of lefts and rights and turns and twists. It feels like Clemson and Miami are going to be the two teams to watch, though. Like, let's not discount Texas A&M. He was just there for a visit. We know that Alabama is also recruiting him, and he has a really big visit this weekend coming up to Ohio State, which is one of his top teams. But we talked about Clemson has missed on a lot of their top quarterback targets, DJ Lagway, Walker White. Will that trend continue with with Air Noland, who is now the offered quarterback for Clemson, the top guy on their board after making a new offensive coordinator hire. And then Miami. Miami also made an OC hire. Shannon Dawson coming over from U of H wasted no time getting in the mix with Air Noland. That's a scheme fit for Air Noland that he's really high on. He also visited Coral Gables a little bit earlier this month. It seems like those two are the teams to watch, but if Ohio State offers, it's hard to not think that the Buckeyes will get into the mix as well.
All right, so let's make your prediction though, Sam. Who you going with?
I don't believe that Clemson's luck will run out, but I'm not confident enough to put my pick on the RPM just yet.
All right. Well, I'm leaning toward Miami right now, but I fully agree with you. I think Ohio State is the dark horse. Spoke to a source over there this morning, and I do believe that during Air Noland's visit to the Buckeyes, he will get an offer. And that could change his entire recruitment. So as it stands now, I think we're kind of split, Clemson, Miami, but we both agree Ohio State could factor in here by the end of the weekend even. All right, let's go to number 20.
I had heard something similar. If and when he got that offer, it would be a hard offer for him to pass up in his recruitment. So right now, yeah, it feels like Clemson or Miami, pick your poison, but Ohio State seems poised to make some noise in this thing.
Yeah, Air Noland is kind of the quarterback recruitment that everybody's keeping an eye on right now outside of Dylan Raiola. But let's go to the number 20 quarterback overall, Michael Hawkins. He's going to decide a day earlier than Air Noland on April 8. Where do you think Michael Hawkins ends up?
I've had an RPM on Michael Hawkins to Oklahoma since the fall, and that's for obvious reasons. He's visited Oklahoma and Arkansas more than any other two campuses in his recruitment. And Jeff Lebby has been leading the charge for one of the nation's best. He's an Oklahoma legacy, and he seems ready to make his decision. Now, the only competition that Oklahoma has is TCU. We talked about that he's visited Arkansas so much. Well, their OC, Kendall Briles, is now calling the plays in Fort Worth. Right. Obviously, Michael Hawkins is a kid from Frisco, Texas. Fort Worth is in his backyard, but you just kind of lean on the relationships and the school and that's Oklahoma. And I think the Sooners are poised to get their quarterback soon.
All right, well, there's our picks on the QB dominoes that are about to fall. Sam, thanks for chiming in on the inside scoop. You thought we were done with the 2023 recruiting cycle, didn't you? We're not. The number one tight end in America, 5-star Deuce Robinson out of Phoenix, Arizona, is making his big announcement today. He's going to do it. Deuce Robinson is the final uncommitted, unsigned 5-star in the 2023 class. Let's bring on national recruiting analyst Sam Spiegelman. Sam, the number one tight end, the number 23 ranked player overall, is set to make his decision. So let's check out the recruiting prediction machine. He's going to make his decision today. Do you agree with where the RPM sits with USC?
He's the lone 5-star that's still unsigned, and I think the RPM is really accurately depicting the story of his recruitment and how this thing unraveled. I mean, at one point, his Final Four, Alabama, Texas, USC, and Georgia, it kind of whittled down to two teams. Georgia at one point was leading on the RPM, but obviously time has come, and USC is. It feels like they've kind of distanced themselves as the obvious favorite leading into Deuce's announcement later today. Lincoln Riley seems poised to add one of the more unique mismatched pass catchers at the tight end position. We're coming off a Super Bowl in which Travis Kelce just showed that he was the best pass catcher on the Chiefs, and Deuce Robinson is an absolute alien at the tight end position in the 2023 cycle, and he's going to go to one of the best offensive play callers potentially. And I think it was a hard decision with Georgia and the success that they've had with Brock Bowers and obviously Darnell Washington going into the draft, but USC could make some noise with the Phoenix area kid that is also a fantastic baseball player.
Yeah, Deuce Robinson, maybe, if he signs with USC, going to link up with 5-star quarterback Malachi Nelson in that Lincoln Riley offense. But, Georgia, I feel like Georgia probably would have landed him had he committed in February. It seemed like coming off that national championship, coming out of those visits, Deuce Robinson was maybe leaning toward the Bulldogs. But, I don't think anybody's going to feel bad for the Dogs missing out on a 5-star prospect. All right, let's stick with the recruiting prediction machine. I want to take a look at some 2024 targets, some big-time targets that are trending on the RPM. Let's start at the top with the number one player overall in the 24 class edge Dylan Stewart. Alabama had a sizable lead coming off of his Ohio State visit. And then we saw Director of Recruiting Chad Simmons throw in a prediction on Monday for the Buckeyes. Now, Alabama still leads 47%, but Ohio State is surging 39%. Then you see South Carolina, who Dylan Stewart has visited 6 times at 3.5%. So do you agree with Chad, or do you think, Sam, that it's way too early right now to say that Dylan Stewart is heading anywhere?
No, I'm not going to be the person who disagrees with Chad, not me. It seems like Stewart is moving closer and closer toward a decision that's based on Chad's intel. It seems like these visits now are becoming more and more important. He's just been to Alabama. He's going to Georgia. He's been to Ohio State. He's been to Michigan. And like you said, he's been to South Carolina a ton. It seems like that visit to Columbus, that, Larry Johnson, the Buckeyes' famed D-line coach, one of the best in the business, has really kind of connected with Dylan Stewart. And I think that is now the team that's going to be the one to watch moving forward. We don't know when a decision is going to come, but we do expect it sooner rather than later. It's not going to be a recruitment that's going to go deep into the fall or into the season. So right now, I think that Ohio State has to be deemed the team to watch until one of these other visits move the needle even more.
Yeah, the reason I'm saying pump the brakes on Ohio State is because Dylan Stewart's going to Athens this weekend. He's going to visit Georgia on an unofficial. And let's just be honest. I'm not saying Ohio State can't recruit, but last year, they needed a pass rusher. They missed on Keon Keeley, who ends up ultimately signing with Alabama. Then they're in on Damon Wilson, who ultimately signs with Georgia. Missing these key pass rushers to the SEC. Now, this isn't a theme, but this weekend, Stewart goes to Georgia, so I think we just got to wait and see what happens there. Let's move on.
Yeah, I'm not going to discount the dogs just yet.
Next up, I want to talk about 4-star Texas linebacker Peyton Pierce, ranked as the number 201st best player overall. And we see, once again, the Buckeyes surging at 60%, Notre Dame in at 33%, and Texas is under 2%. He's a Texas prospect. Is there any teams in the state of Texas that can pull him from the Buckeyes?
Yeah, I think the one in-state team to watch with Peyton Pierce would be the Aggies. They have a need at linebacker. Obviously they signed a couple of linebackers in-state late in 2023, but they're really hoping to kind of restock the barrel at linebacker in 2024. Peyton Pierce, one of the best in the country out of DFW. They've had him on campus this spring. New defensive coordinator, DJ Durkin, has really kind of meshed with him. But Texas A&M has some competition. I think Ohio State is definitely the team to beat with Pierce early on.
What's Ohio State done to become the team to beat for Peyton Pierce?
It all starts with James Laurinaitis. That's a name that you and I are very familiar with. And when James Laurinaitis was at Notre Dame, he got Peyton Pierce on campus. That's a relationship that he's been really high on, kind of one of those coaches that has just kind of sat well with Peyton Pierce and in terms of development and opening his eyes to what he needs to do at the college level. As soon as he got to Ohio State, he set that visit. And after kind of getting to campus and checking out the surroundings, meeting with Todd Knowles, their defensive coordinator, I think that Ohio State moved into the driver's seat with Texas A&M, with Oklahoma also in the picture.
Oklahoma, is that the dark horse in this recruitment, would you say?
They have to be. Brent Venables has a defensive-minded staff. They have multiple coaches, assistant coaches, GAs that played linebacker under Brent Venables at Clemson. That was a real eye-opener for Pierce when he's been to Norman. And we know that Brent Venables and Oklahoma are known for recruiting the DFW area. They've zeroed in on Peyton Pierce, a couple of his teammates and friends in the area. I think that Oklahoma will have its hat at the table when it's all said and done.
Okay. Let's move on to another linebacker, this one in the state of Georgia, 5-star Sammy Brown. And this has been a heated battle between two teams right here, Clemson and Georgia. And as you see on the RPM, he is visiting UGA this weekend, another big-time visitor in Athens. Do you think Clemson will ultimately land him? Or is this thing more wide open than we think it is?
I don't think it's wide open, but I think you hit it right in the head. I think it's always going to come down to two teams, and that's going to be Clemson and Georgia. And Clemson and Dabney have been recruiting Sammy Brown since he was a freshman in high school. And that relationship, it might be second to none, but at the same time, we are talking about Georgia. with the South Georgia kid that plays linebacker, and Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp have a reputation with players that play on the front seven, and their defense has anchored them to back national championships. And I think it was only a matter of time before the Dogs started to turn up the heat on one of their top in-state targets. I do ultimately think it comes down to these two teams, and I'm not discounting Georgia with Sammy Brown, though it's a really important recruiting battle to watch moving forward.
Yeah, very important recruiting battle. And if you're a recruiting fan, hit the subscribe button. We have all the latest developments when it comes to recruiting and a ton of college football news here at On3. Do me a favor right now, subscribe to the On3 YouTube page. All right, Sam, let's wrap this segment up with Draylon Miller, the number 4 athlete in America, the 75th best player overall. His RPM shows that LSU is running away with this thing at 86%, Texas A&M at 6%, Texas and UGA right around 2%. You're very close to this recruitment. Is the race closer than the RPM indicates?
Yeah, I'm the one who put in the RPM for LSU over the weekend. But
so you got it trending.
I got it trending for the Tigers, but this is definitely a way tighter race than the RPM is reflecting. Listen, Colorado, Florida are going to get Draylon Miller on campus for official visits, and you can expect LSU and Texas A&M. But ultimately, this is a kid from Beaumont, Texas, about 3 hours from Baton Rouge, about 3 hours from College Station. They're going to fight for Draylon Miller until he makes his decision. What I can tell you is that A&M has probably been the favorite for the bulk of his recruitment. They've offered him early, and Jimbo Fisher has personally taken a leading role in his recruitment. But he was just on campus in Baton Rouge. He got offered a basketball scholarship. Yeah, he's a kid from East Texas, guys, a football and a basketball scholarship.
They're going all in on him.
They're going all in. Their wide receivers coach went to the same college as his dad, who played basketball in college. I think that LSU, there's a lot of confidence in Baton Rouge right now, but certainly A&M is not out of this race just yet.
All right, Sam, I didn't think this one was as close as it looked, but good to know that you're the one that boosted LSU on this recruiting prediction.
Guilty.
All right, Sam, thanks for stopping by the Inside Scoop today. Appreciate you. Tennessee is sitting at number 9 in the recruiting rankings right now with a very solid class. 3 of their 5 commitments are inside the On 300 rankings, but coming off a big visit weekend, the Volunteers are looking to add some major pieces to their 2024 class. We're bringing on Austin Price of VolQuest to discuss. Over the weekend, one of the biggest names that was there was the number 7 ranked QB in the country, the 66th best player overall from Savannah, Georgia, Jake Merklinger, 6'3", 195 pounds. Austin, he's making his decision later today. So who are the main contenders for Merklinger?
Well, it's really been down to Tennessee and North Carolina. Those have been the most consistent two. He visited Georgia, and they're obviously in the mix, as are a couple of other schools like Michigan. But ultimately, this has kind of been a Tennessee-North Carolina battle for the last several weeks, Josh. And, Tennessee seems to have a lot of momentum coming out of last weekend. Normally, you can kind of follow the visits, and he visited Tennessee last. He talked about taking another visit to North Carolina. That's not happening. So, you start connecting the dots. It just feels like Tennessee is the trendy pick right now.
Yeah, it feels like that because coming off of his visit on Monday, he announced that on Thursday he'd be ready to let America know where he plans to attend college. What do you think went on over the weekend to kind of speed this process up a little bit?
Well, I think Tennessee did a really nice job, just showing him kind of how he fits into their plans. And, when you look at Tennessee and North Carolina, the stability lies in Knoxville, whereas the quickest path to the field lies in Chapel Hill. So it's kind of that balancing act. And I think ultimately he wanted stability, knowing he's going to have to get past Nico or wait his turn at the quarterback position. I think he was okay with that. He wants to compete. They told him he would have a chance to compete when he gets here for the job. And, the thing about, Jake is he's a kind of a no-nonsense kid. He's not about the hoopla of the recruiting process. You don't see him doing a ton of, tweeting and Instagramming, all that stuff. He kind of lays low. He posts some pictures and here and there, but, he's not all about the hoopla. And so I think that meshes well with a guy like Joey Halsley, Tennessee's new offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, and Josh Heupel.
So if Jake Merklinger were to commit later today to Tennessee, what wide receiver targets do you think he could influence in Tennessee's direction moving forward as this class rolls on?
I don't know, Josh. That's a great question because you look at last year's class and you would have thought Nico would have influenced a bunch of guys, but Tennessee was not really able to, they landed Nathan Laycock, but that was more good eval. And then you saw him go rocketing up the rankings, ending up in the top 50 when all was said and done with Charles Power and the rankings team. I'm not sure he influences anybody in particular. Obviously, having another good quarterback on campus, a deep quarterback room, that speaks volumes to receivers. I think the offense speaks volumes to receivers, but I don't know if there's anybody in particular you can say, that's going to help them land Mike Matthews. That's going to help them land Ryan Wingo. They've already got J.G. Harrell, Amari Jefferson down at Chattanooga Baylor. I'm just not sure that it equates. I mean, you'd like to think so. A lot of people thought Nico would last year, but it just didn't seem to line up.
Well, between Nico's commitment, Jalen Hyatt's success, and now bringing on another top 10 quarterback in the 24 class, what do you think Tennessee's chances are with guys like Ryan Wingo and Mike Matthews?
Well, I think Tennessee's definitely in the mix for both. Ryan Wingo is someone who I felt like Tennessee was on top for the longest time. Now, there's some other schools that have gotten involved there. He likes Georgia. He likes Alabama. And you're going to hear that constant theme. Amari Jefferson, Georgia and Alabama. Mike Matthews, Georgia, Clemson. I mean, like a lot of the similar schools. And it's good to see Tennessee actually in the mix competing with those schools because, just a few years ago, that wasn't the case. And so the type of player Tennessee is battling for right now is a little bit different than what it was just 2 years ago. And so
no question,
you're going against the best of the best. And so if you don't have to land them all. You just want to land one or two, get one or two on your side of the ledger. That would be nice for Jake Merklinger. That would be nice for Tennessee. And it's not just the receiver position. It's really all positions. But when you talk about, Matthews, you talk about Wingo, these are two highly coveted guys. Amari Jefferson continues to rock it up the rankings and gets the attention more and more as Georgia and Alabama and teams like that come in on him. So, it's going to be a dogfight for any of those wide receivers. And now it's up to Kelsey Pope, Joey Halsley, Josh Heupel to figure out how to land one or two.
Well, let's move to another dogfight, just at a different position. This comes at the running back position. Tennessee seems to be the dark horse for the number one running back in America, Jared Gibson, out of IMG Academy. Now, all the attention right now is toward Texas, but what are the chances that Tennessee can overcome the lead that Texas has? What do the Volunteers need to do to compete for the number one running back in America?
They're going to make this a marathon, not a sprint. The longer this goes, the better chance a team like Tennessee has for Jared Gibson. Texas has had all the momentum. They've had all the cachet in their corner early on. But the longer this goes, the more someone like a Tennessee could slide in and potentially swing this kid's momentum late and land him. Tennessee obviously is in play there. They're trying to be in play with Braylon Russell, running back out of Arkansas. They're in play with Peyton Lewis, running back out of Virginia. They just had Chauncey Bowens, a Florida commit, on campus this past weekend. So the running back position, very important to Tennessee in this class. They'd love to get Jared Gibson back on campus sooner rather than later.
All right, two more big-time prospects that were on campus on the defensive side of the ball this time. On 300 prospects, cornerback Aaron Scott and linebacker Caden Jones. Sounds like things went really well. What does Tennessee need to do to close on these two top defensive targets?
Well, it just has to continue to show progress. The problem is like I think Tennessee needs another year of solid defensive improvement to really start, being a force week in, week out with top defensive guys. They've had a really nice haul of Leos the last couple of years. You look at the last couple of years, they benefit from Tyree West, Georgia kind of, going a different direction late. He's going to be a really solid player for Tennessee. James Pierce, 5-star with On3. Guy that just kind of continued to rock up the rankings. He's put on a lot of good offseason weight. Caleb Herring, this past class, a Leo, put on a ton of weight. Josh Josephs, the trio of corners in this past class, led by Jordan Matthews and Ricky Gibson, who's an athletic freak. They have a lot of momentum on defense, but to continue to land top-end guys, I think you need another cycle of showing growth. They had a huge jump from year one to year two. I think you're going to see that again from year 2 to year 3, because I think a lot of those players that were freshmen last year are now sophomores, and there's a couple of these freshmen, incoming freshmen, early enrollees that I think can make real hay this fall for Tennessee on the defensive side. So, when you look at Aaron Scott, he likes Tennessee a lot, but will he leave Ohio? I mean, like that. A lot of kids just don't, that are top end players. They end up at Ohio State. There's a lot of buzz around the Buckeyes with him, but he had a good time. He's coming back for an official visit in June. Caden Jones, same type thing. Tennessee's definitely in it, but I think, again, kind of like Jared Gibson, the longer it goes, the better Tennessee's chances are.
Yeah, they'll get another look at Tennessee this summer on the official visit. And then, like you said, these guys come back on campus in the fall, see if Tennessee can close. Well, Austin, I know you got another big visit weekend coming up in Knoxville this weekend. Tennessee fans, go make sure you are on VolQuest all weekend to get all the inside scoop. Thanks for joining the show, Austin.
Appreciate it, Josh.
See ya. Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. And remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.